Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So you know how we talk a lot on this channel about what happens in California spreads to other states across the country. But it's not just red or conservative states that need to pay attention to what happens there. It's also blue states who are looking to up their game. And one such state that is always looking to up their game when it comes to gun control is the state of New York. New York passed the SAFE Act. It was one of the worst packages that we have ever seen, completely infringing on people's constitutional rights in that state, and they have not stopped since. Well, guess what? They just passed another one, a 10-day waiting period, along with several others. So let's talk about what's going on. This video is proud to be sponsored by American Hartford Gold. Listen, if there is one thing that those of us in the firearms community understand, it's that you cannot rely on the government for your protection. Not with your life, and especially not with your wealth. Look, throughout our lifetime, the dominance of the US dollar was unquestioned, but that may be changing. As we face unprecedented inflation, the world's biggest economies are ditching the dollar for the yen. Banks are failing left and right, and the government is discussing a total control of all of your money with the new digital dollar. Don't let your life savings become a casualty of failing corporations or currency wars. Now is the time to call the only precious metal dealer that I trust, American Hartford Gold. They'll show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your wealth portfolio with physical gold and silver. With the finest products, amazing customer service, and a buyback commitment. American Hartford Gold has a 5-star rating from thousands of reviews and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau. American Hartford Gold supports content like this that is committed to bringing you the truth. Tell them I sent you and they'll give you up to $5,000 of free silver on your first order. So call them now. Click the link in the description or call 866-856-2507. That's 866-856-2507 or text COPPER to 65532. Again, that's 866-856-2507 or text COPPER to 65532. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. And today's video should really be a lesson in do not ignore a bill. Even though a bill was introduced a long time ago, well over a year ago, that bill, if it's not gone, it's still alive and well. And that's what happened with S4818. S4818, the 10-day waiting period in the state of New York, was first introduced back in February of 2023. This bill got a kind of a rough start. It was a slow start. But they didn't give up on it, and the Senate just passed that bill. As a matter of fact, this is a terrible bill that will do exactly to New Yorkers what has happened to people in California. It will force you to wait 10 or 11 days for a transfer. So if you go into a shop and you fill out your paperwork and you do your 4473 and all that stuff, right? That's when the clock starts. That's when the timer starts. It's 10 days from that point before they'll ever let you pick it up, even if the background check comes back instantly or same day or next day or the third day. It doesn't matter. It's basically considered a cool-off period, and so they're going to extend it out throughout that 10 days. And just from personal experience in California, I can tell you that it's usually on the 11th day that they'll actually release it to you, because they're not going to wait until that specific time that you actually fill out your paperwork and the guy in the back room turned everything in, etc. They're usually going to make you wait to that 11th day. So it's effectively an 11-day waiting period. Now, even though this bill was introduced back in February of 23, this bill was just passed by the Senate on June 4th of this year. So just a few days ago, this bill was passed, and it's already made its way to the Assembly, where the Assembly is going to be doing its voting on it. And I assume, because it passed by such a decent margin, that they're going to fast track this. It's not going to have any problem. It's not going to take the same amount of time to go through the Assembly as it did the Senate. And if it passes the Assembly, will the governor sign it? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I just saw a press conference from her talking about all of the new things that she can do in this specific area as it pertains to the Second Amendment. So this is very bad. I mean, on top of everything that New York has been doing lately with background checks and registration and new regulations and the SAFE Act and carry laws and everything else, you add now a 10-day waiting period on it, and I would find it hard-pressed to say that California is any worse than New York. I think that New York might actually be worse than California if these new laws actually get signed by the governor. Let's talk about some of the other ones that were included in this package, including, believe it or not, a voluntary rescinding of your Second Amendment rights. Now, I pulled S4818, the 10-day waiting period, out of a package of bills that was passed by the New York State Senate. Some other notable ones that are also in that package and on their way to the Assembly are going to be restrictions on the open carry of long guns, S9137A. We have the waiting period again, which is S4818. And then the other one we spoke about, which is the firearms, voluntary firearm waiver, that's S2086A, sponsored by the Senator Brian Kavanaugh, and would basically allow people to restrict themselves from that right. And it would also report that they've restricted themselves on that right to the NICS system, so they would be reported there as well. We have some other ones, which is basically going to create a merchant code. So if you use your bank card or something like that, there's going to be new merchant codes for shops, so for dealers when you go in. And then they're also, believe it or not, they're expanding the ERPO petitioners. Basically what that means is, you know, the red flags, extremist protection orders, they're going to expand who can petition for one, because New York already breaks records when it comes to how many confiscations they have, but it's not quite enough for New York. And the only way to really increase that is to expand the amount or type of people who can actually file one against you. And so that just passed as well. So as you can see right there, it's just this never-ending saga. It seems to happen every single year. Every time the Senate and Assembly get together, they have to come up with some new way to appease their base, even if it makes no sense whatsoever. But they're going to do it anyway because, you know what, the Constitution be damned. That's basically, for them, it's just a speed bump. It's not the roadblock that it should be. So as frustrating as it is to make these videos where we talk about people's rights being infringed, and I do not take that lightly, we're experiencing something now from coast to coast that is really just a pushback on the Supreme Court and the Bruin decision and the Heller decision, where states just simply are ignoring it. They don't care. They're actually doing it not despite what the Supreme Court said, but in spite of what the Supreme Court has said. And they're just going to hang it up. They're going to let it sit around in court for a while, and they don't care whether or not it makes any type of difference at all or whether or not it affects your rights. They just continue to do it. So we see major cities, major counties, major states across this country implementing stuff just like this on an annual basis. I mean, we're seeing some major new laws be passed. And until the Supreme Court actually decides to take up some of these cases and really put the lower courts in their place, we're going to continue to see stuff like this happen. They're just never going to let up because every year they'll find something new. So anyway, it's best to stay up to date on this so that you can contact your legislators. Let them know that you don't support these. Let them know that you exist. If they don't know that you exist, if they don't know that you don't support it, well, then they're never going to even have a second thought about it, because I guarantee you that the other side, they speak up and let them know that they want them to pass it. So without something on the opposite side of that to push back against it, there's no resistance whatsoever. So it's up to you to make those phone calls, to send out those emails, and to let the people who make these laws know that you don't support it. Anyway, again, I wanted to share that with you, and I want to thank you all very much for watching. Please like, subscribe. You guys have a great day.